After nearly 3 months since release, we now have some sales numbers and some information regarding the potential success or flop of Stellar Blade. Now, before we get into this, one thing that we really need to mention is with all these numbers we're going to be going forward with this video, do keep in mind that Stellar Blade is a brand new IP and a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So it wasn't even on the PS4, and there's still a lot of people playing their PlayStation 4s. This was exclusively on PlayStation 5 and a brand new IP. So since the game's release in late April of this year, being 2024, ShiftUp has estimated that Stellar Blade sold over 1 million copies and generating $15.8 million in royalties. Again, for a brand new IP that is a PlayStation 5 exclusive and not a AAA game, meaning the budget of this game was significantly lower than something like Spider-Man 2's outrageous fucking budget, this is pretty good, actually. These are some solid numbers. I have yet to play Stellar Blade because I don't own a PlayStation 5. When this game comes to PC, chances are I will pick it up. These are the types of action RPG games that I tend to like. So another thing we have to quickly touch on with this is that they are talking about potential DLC and how there is talk of bringing it to PC. However, they can't talk about the PC release too much because of contractual obligations, most likely to do with Sony, and we all know how the Sony part played into this whole game as well. But there is a part here we do have to keep in mind. There's already some speculation on social media that Stellar Blade has underperformed. Not quite. For comparison purposes, fellow Korean developer Neowitz Games, who made Lies of P, and by the way, Lies of P is an absolute fantastic game. It was my personal opinion of Game of the Year last year. Incredible game. Anyway, Lies of P crossed 1 million copies more than 1 month after its release, and that game launched on all platforms except for the Nintendo Switch, and that does include Game Pass. So do keep all of that in mind in comparison to show that Stellar Blade has done, well, relatively well in the grand scheme of things. Now, with all that said, do you know what this tells me? And this is something we already knew, but this reinforces it. Twitter ain't real. With all the drama that went down leading up to Stellar Blade and the launch of Stellar Blade, including censorship, which I will talk about in a little bit, with the amount of drama that went down with this game and the amount of bullshit narratives that were pushed on this game from both sides, keep in mind, you would have thought this game would have performed much better. This game was talked about more than it was played, and that seems to be a problem when it comes to gaming talk in general in today's society, and that is an unfortunate fact. Now, I'm not saying everybody did that, but I think it'd be pretty hard to argue that the drama around this game eclipsed the actual game itself. Sounds like another game that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But bringing up the censorship with this game, that absolutely would be a deterrent to some people to play this game, and rightfully so. We saw plenty of people saying, fuck this, I'll just wait for the PC release. And another thing that would have deterred people from playing this game, and I know firsthand that this is a thing that deterred people, is when we saw that the game had been censored, and then we saw the director of the game, you know, do that interview where he said, like, no, this is always how it was intended. Everyone saw through that and said that's total bullshit. Just say at the last minute, Sony stepped in and your hands were tied. That's all you had to say. But contractual obligations means he can't say these things. So that's another thing that would have deterred people. But again, with the amount of bullshit that went down with this game, you would have thought there would have been more sales for this game. Real quickly, on the subject of talking about video games, I have a separate channel over here, the Groning on Dogs podcast, the single greatest gaming talk podcast on YouTube. We have stacked panels, we get into discussions about everything that's going on in the world of gaming, from AAA all the way down to indies, all the streaming stuff that's going down. If you love general gaming discussion, this is the channel for you, so be sure to check it out. Like I said, this reminds me of another game and something that I really think we have to put in comparison, not in terms of sales-wise, but in terms of drama surrounding the game. I am, of course, talking about Hogwarts Legacy, which came out last year and I believe was actually the best-selling game of last year. Now, I've said previously in a few videos on this channel that the drama surrounding Hogwarts Legacy, both sides were competing for who was the bigger retard, and it was fucking neck and neck for a long time, man. It was so dumb. You had all the fucking people that hate J.K. Rowling because, I don't fucking know, she said something against trans people. Who the fuck cares? And then you had all the other people saying we have to boycott this game. And of all the people that boycotted the game, you didn't really see many of them actually play the game or talk about the game itself, just about the drama surrounding the game. Another situation where Twitter isn't real. Now, a lot of people like to claim victory with Hogwarts Legacy, saying, look what we did. We showed that we can go and boycott a game where these dickheads can't even fucking boycott a game. Right, here's a hard truth to swallow. That game was always going to succeed, no matter what. Why? Because it's a Harry Potter game, one of the biggest franchises in the world. People have been starving for a open world RPG Harry Potter game since, well, forever, really. This game was destined to succeed. Now, its numbers were above and beyond what a lot of people, including myself, thought it was going to perform. Even though the general reception from the game was, it ranges from mid to good. No one really says it's like some god tier or amazing game. And from everything I've seen about it, I would agree with that. But doesn't this go to show you that just because there's a lot of fuss about a video game on Twitter, whether it's good, bad, whatever, it really doesn't affect the game itself, does it? And it sure as shit doesn't affect the performance sales of the game. On one hand, we have Hogwarts Legacy, which was always going to succeed, and the ones that were screaming boycott with the game, yeah, they might have bought 12 copies, but they hardly fucking played it, right? And then on the other hand, we have Stellar Blade. With all the drama that went down with this game, you would have thought this game was the second coming of Christ. And don't get me wrong, Stellar Blade is a success. Especially when you keep in mind, like I mentioned at the start of this video, brand new IP and a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It is a success. Just keep in mind that just because there's a lot of noise about something on Twitter, it doesn't really fucking matter at the end of the day, does it?